Good afternoon. What we're going to talk about today is keeping focused on your waiting room and how it has massive positive impact on your patient's decision-making process. So we're going to start with talking about 3 ways that you can use video in your waiting room. So why are we talking about video? Well, video is all about patient engagement, right? The moment your patient walks in the door, you've spent time, money, resources getting them there. From the moment they walk in the door, you need to reinforce that decision that they are there, that they've made a good decision. Custom video content is an extremely effective way to do that. Now, a lot of you might say, well, I have video content. I have a TV in my waiting room. I'm playing television, playing the Travel Channel, I'm playing Food Network. It's all good. I'm occupying them. And by the way, my patients don't wait that long. Let's think about that for a second. So you just spent time and money getting this new patient in the door. He's there with his wife. They sit down, and we're human. We're drawn to the TV. We're watching it. And the Travel Channel's playing vacation packages to Fiji, or the Food Network is playing Napa Valley vacations and all kinds of great stuff. In those few precious moments, you have just filled your patient's mind with things outside of their hearing health care. Why would you do that? Why would you give away those precious, powerful moments to give your patients ideas of other things to do? You've just given away total control to somebody you can't control, the TV networks. When you think about it, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. As a patient engagement tool, video preconditions your patient for their appointment. And when you precondition your patient for their appointment, the greater percentage of people will complete that path to purchase. So how do we precondition? What is preconditioning? We want to keep your patients focused on their hearing healthcare journey. We want to keep them focused on positive emotional triggers, positive emotional breakthroughs. We want to create a state of mind that keeps them moving forward in this process. And one of the things that we've done is we've created a great strategy to do that. We call it the 10-10-4. The 10-10-4 strategy actually starts with one big fat hairy question, and that is, what are you an expert in? And it's not hearing aids, and it's not audiology. You are an expert in connecting people to other people. You are an expert in bringing people back to life. And every single one of you comes to the table with a different set of circumstances, different story, different layer of experiences, and that is your brand story. You want to create your brand story. So take a minute and write a paragraph. What am I an expert in? This is not a bio. This is your story. The next step in the 10-10-4 strategy is those 10 questions. What are the top 10 questions my patients ask me on a regular basis? You write down the question and you write down the answer. The second 10 is, what are the top 10 questions my patient should be asking me? Write down the question, write down the answer. Do it with your team. Refer back to your big fat hairy question. What am I an expert in? What are those things people should be asking me about? Right there, you've created a great library of content that we can turn into video vignettes that play in your waiting room. Now we add to that, what are 4 additional key content pieces we can create? The first one is a call to action piece. And this is a piece that you want to create in video format that is, what do you want your patients to do next? What's the next step? What do you want them thinking about? What do you want them doing when they get home? So a call to action piece. The second is a web page tie-in. It's safe to assume that you all have websites. It's 2016. You got a website. And if you don't, you certainly better have one. But in the waiting room, refer them back to your web page. It's going to be on brochures. It's another marketing material. But you can put this up on screen to have something they can walk away with and they visualize that it's there. The third is a thank you in advance piece. So this is, think laws of attraction. Thank you so much for taking this journey with us. Thank you so much for trusting me with your hearing healthcare. Easy way to do this, grab your iPhone, do a little video. Take a quick video of you and your staff saying thank you in advance. And the fourth is a and what else piece. What else are you doing in your clinic? Do you do care credit? Do you have a battery program? What other products and services do you offer in your clinic? So the fourth is a and what else piece. So that 10-10-4 strategy is an awesome way to create preconditioning content that we can create into video that goes up in your waiting room. The other cool thing is that all the video that's created for the waiting room content can also be used on your website. And you can download it, use it on websites, social media. It's an incredibly powerful tool. So this is a great stat. We actually commissioned Accent Health's research team to conduct a waiting room impact study. We wanted to understand what people's reaction to and impressions of video content playing in the waiting room was. And 93% of the doctors that participated indicated that their patients asked much more thoughtful questions after viewing digital signage or digital video in the waiting room. And that just reinforces the fact that this works. This is a great testimonial from our friend Tina. Again, she's using video content in her waiting room. She's been doing it for a long time, and her patients engage. They ask her better questions. They communicate at a deeper level with her. So what is the impact 40 seconds has?
Despite the fact that approximately 32 million Americans have hearing loss, only about 13% report they received a hearing screening during their last physical exam. Untreated hearing loss can have significant negative impacts on work performance and personal relationships. Conversely, research indicates that quality of life improves for 3 out of 4 who use hearing aids. In fact, studies show that the use of hearing aids for those with milder hearing loss reduces the risk of income loss by 90 to 100%. Change your statistics. Take advantage of assistive hearing devices and begin your journey toward a better life.
All right, that's a great example of how 40 seconds of video content has actually taken something that would have been total Yawnsville to read. I mean, that would have been really boring to read. But it's turned it into something that's entertaining and memorable and visual. I mean, the truth is that visualizing a fact taps into human nature. When we visualize, we remember, and it's something that we can retain. The other thing that's really cool about video is that it allows us to create stories and frame them around facts. So when we hear a fact, we put meaning to that fact. So facts sometimes stress people out, but it's not the fact itself that stresses them out, it's the meaning they put behind that fact. So video stories allow us to frame the facts with a meaning that we want that patient to move forward with. Does that make sense? So a fact that I hear might stress me out, but it doesn't stress out my husband because he puts different meaning behind it. So it's just a remarkable tool. Waiting room entertainment is another awesome opportunity to use video content. Think about inspiring your patients. You know, we go back to, well, I run the Travel Channel or Food Network, I'm entertaining my patients. But video content that you create and you can control, you're creating video stories, you're creating inspiration. It's a great balance between information and inspiration for your patients, and you're controlling it. You know, think again, you've written this little brand story. Go back to that, inspiring stories. Do a little video of your patients, do a little video of your staff. Staff interviews are awesome ways to reduce stress, to reduce the perceived wait time. So we're providing a combination of inspiration and education and information for your patients. It's another great testimonial. This is an example. Sandra is a good friend of ours. She's been also running video content in her waiting room. And we say, well, we don't want our patients to wait. We try to turn them around as quickly as we can. We don't want them sitting in the waiting room. Well, stuff happens. In this case, Sandra had a patient. She was running late. She sat for 25 minutes in that waiting room. When she brought her back and she apologized, Sandra learned from her patient, is like, hey, I didn't even realize I was waiting. I was entertained, I was educated. The video content kept her engaged in the hearing care process. She could have been entertained by a TV show, but this kept her moving forward in that path to purchase, which is so critical. And it made her feel respected and appreciated. Now, there's a great quote from Maya Angelou that goes, I've learned that people will forget what you said, I've learned that they'll forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. That's the key. In that waiting room, you have a moment to make your patients feel appreciated and respected. And if you welcome them with something unwelcoming, how do you think they're going to feel? Another awesome tool about video content in the waiting room is repetitive messaging. And here's a great example. So there's a great example. If you offer care credit, repetitive messaging, you might be offering it in your brochures, you might be doing advertising, you're putting it up on your website, you're doing a variety of things to advertise it. Now it's up in the waiting room. Now you've reinforced that message. There's the rule of 7. You have to see something 7 times before someone takes action. When you layer the messaging and you put it in front of them in the waiting room, again, you're engaging them at a different level and you're utilizing the other tools to supplement that information and that engagement. Think like shampoo. Shampoo, rinse, repeat. Those are the rules of marketing, and they're very powerful. Building brand loyalty is another key driver in video content in the waiting room. Your current and future customers are precious drivers of growth and profitability. The waiting room content provides you a platform to interact and engage with your patients at a different level. It's almost like having a concierge sitting there with them, educating them, inspiring them, moving them forward through this process. And it guarantees patient satisfaction. Using patient testimonials and video in the waiting room is incredibly powerful. Think about it, when you have a new patient sitting in that waiting room and you have a current or previous patient that was happy and satisfied who's done a little testimonial for you, whether it be a video, whether you take still shots and you draft a little content that goes up there, you're basically telling the patients waiting in the waiting room right now, you're a pretty darn smart cookie for being there. And it goes back to the idea that we absolutely have to defend the decisions we've made. So if you've made investments in getting that phone to ring and bringing that patient in, now you're reinforcing that decision through the video content in the waiting room. When we make a decision to take actions, our brains default to defending that decision. That's why social proof is so incredibly powerful. Patient reviews, reviews online, these are valuable tools in reinforcing our decisions we've made. It's another great stat. 65% of senior marketing execs feel that visual assets are much more powerful in telling their brand stories. It goes back to engagement. It's getting your patients invested in this process, engaged in this process, and moving forward. Things like staff highlights. You can do little videos of your staff, little interviews of your staff that gets your patients involved in the process from the minute they walk in the door. So what is your patient's first impression? The waiting room is the window to your clinic soul, and you have about 7 seconds to nail that first impression. You want to understand what your patients see. You want to maximize the investments that you've made to get that phone to ring and capitalize on those precious moments in the waiting room. Even if it's for a few minutes, that is precious, powerful time that you have to engage and interact with your patients while they wait. Now, one of the things you can also do that's very powerful, and I think it's an important thing to do, at least on a quarterly basis, is do a waiting room assessment. Literally walk outside your clinic and walk through the door through the eyes of your patient. Start from the ceiling to the floor. Look at everything. What does your patient see? Start at the ceiling. Do they see cobwebs in the corner? Has the cleaning staff missed something? Is the wall clean? Is there chip paint? What's the trim look like? Everything. Do you have those little roly-poly bugs that end up in the corner of the floor that you miss? Your patients see those things. These are critical details to be looking at. Is there a stain on the carpet? Did a patient that came before leave their coffee cup sitting on the table? What reading material is out? Is it new? Is it organized? Is it old? These are critical things that you want to look at. Do you have something playing in the waiting room? Do you have video content playing, or do you have a TV channel that maybe is a little staticky? Take a look at it from your patient's perspective. Then you want to take a look at other physical cues. So when you walk in, what's the seating arrangement like? Is it really crowded, or is it too open? Does it look like no one's ever there? Take a look at that. A couple funny ones are, what does it smell like? I know it sounds weird, but smell is a powerful, powerful trigger. Take a whiff. What does your waiting room smell like? Also, take a look at the temperature. Is it comfortable when your patient walks in the door? And this is something you probably wouldn't think about, but is there a garbage can in your waiting room? There needs to be a garbage can in your waiting room. Clean, stylish, does it match the decor? And make sure that do you have current colors? Is this old or is this new? What does it feel like for your patients to be in that waiting room? And then finally, you want to take a look at the office processes. Are you using patient surveys in the waiting room? Do you have decision-making tools that you use in the waiting room, different things questionnaires your patients can fill out, and then you can utilize later for additional content that you build? And is your front office staff involved in that process? Are they part of the engagement process? These are things that are really critical and that you may not realize that your patient is picking up on. Your waiting room presents an opportunity for you to create perceptions, emotions, ideas, mindsets that your patients develop about you and about your clinic. This is probably one of the most ignored parts of the process in moving your patient through this path to purchase, and it shouldn't be. By executing digital video program in your digital video delivery system in your waiting room, by doing a 10-10-4 content development strategy, which you can use in all kinds of different tools, and by doing a quarterly waiting room assessment, you are absolutely moving your patient forward in a positive way to that path to purchase. So thank you very much for your time.